you got to be able to take big swings. You got to whip it out, big boy, and fucking go for it. Because if you don't, you're probably going to be at your deathbed going, fuck, I wish I'd have done this, or fuck, I wish I'd have done that.
It's about drive. It's about power. We stay hungry. We devour. Put in the work, put in the hours, and take what's ours.
I was listening to another podcast, and the guy was at his Andy Frisella's podcast, and the guy, questioned in him about, hey, he's like, hey, I'm 100 episodes in my podcast, and it's not really taken off yet. And of course, Andy was just big on, doing things for a while, and he was just started ripping into the guy, and he's like, well, probably because you suck. And then 2, he's like, you've only done 100 episodes, and he's going on. He's like, I'm at 1,000 episodes over, 4 years, 5 years. And the guy had done, 100 episodes. Basically, he was doing an episode a week, or for a month. So, or no, excuse me. He was only at 50 episodes. That's what it was. So only at 50 episodes. So he's been doing it for a year, pretty much like how we, once a week. And he just, tell him was like, and then he was comparing it to some of the guy who asked the question. He's like, oh, I've seen some take off overnight success. And he was just, comparing. It's a reminder, right, of like the people that are the overnight success. They're really not an overnight success. He was naming some of the podcasts that, that we're seeing now. And he's like, these people have been putting in the work, whether it's podcasting or something else. They've done multiple. Now this one that they're on has taken off. And it's just a reminder of like, any type of, when you get discouraged on something, you probably haven't been doing it long enough. And the market will tell you how good you are and what you're providing and all that stuff. And it's just this thing, like we've doing this, man. Like I know I have gotten better talking. I've gotten better being on camera, just the little things, but man, we are still so young into it. Like we haven't hit 100 episodes yet. Right. And Andy Frisella, who his podcast is great. He's on his kind of second version of the same podcast, but like that, he's 1,000 episodes in. You look at someone, Joe Rogan, who's I think 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 episodes in, right? Like that, and Joe Rogan's been doing it for 20 years. So it's like when we're any of these people that we everyone wants us overnight success, or they want to be doing better already. It's like, man, you are just on the scheme, on the scale of everything, right? When you ever even talk about the tape measure, or how much time and all this stuff, it's like, man, we're just a little check, little inch mark on this freaking whole ruler of like how much time we've put in on it. So, just kind of a reminder of like, whenever you are feeling discouraged, or just, it's like, man, we have not, or most people have not put in the amount of work necessary to, to get the results that you're looking for, whatever it is. But, it's just something about this too. And, something I wanted to just bring up, because I enjoy doing this. We enjoy doing this. And it is one of those things though, like, man, you got to put in the work. And not only that, it's just, sure, it's one of the things, but like, what other things are you doing? And that's where you recommended to the guy, dude, start doing 2 episodes a week. And yeah, maybe you're still not going to be getting the same traction, but you're just getting better and better at what you're doing every week.
Well, so my mindset behind this is I'm gonna say something right now, and it's something that I oftentimes question 100% of the time. The guy calling into Andy Frisella's podcast, I can totally relate to. It's something where you've put in 50 weeks of effort and you're not seeing any traction. And I think it's something that, to start comparing yourself to other people and their success is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in the past. I've made, hundreds of videos. I've done hundreds of podcasts, and none of them have blown up. But when you actually look at, what Andy Frisella has done, or some of these other successful podcasts have done, say I've done 300 episodes. Well, that's not even a third to what Andy Frisella has done yet. You can't measure success based on someone else's, arrival. And it's, you can't judge them, where it would be great if you were already there. But I think, you'll appreciate being at the top, having grinded it out for so many years. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of times that, I get incredibly discouraged, especially when you spend 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours making a video or doing a podcast, and you edit it, and you think it's this shiny fucking gold stone that's, everybody that's going to want to fucking touch or buy and get a piece of. and you realize the product just wasn't as good. And, you know, why would some of these platforms distribute your stuff out over some of these other creators have been doing it so successful for so many years? And I think it's one of those things you gotta really check yourself, because this game that you're trying to get into is incredibly difficult. Creating content for a living is incredibly difficult, especially if you're trying to get to Andy Friselis' status. You know, if I mentioned Andy Friselis to my wife, she would have no idea who that person is. If I told my grandma who that person is, she would have no idea who that person was. But you and I know about him, you know, and at, you know, certain levels of success, Andy Friselis isn't even at the top yet. But 1,000 episodes in, he's starting to get that momentum. And I think it's one of those things that if you start comparing yourself to other creators, you're going to get discouraged really, really fast. One of the creators that I look up to is Casey Neistat. You know, he'd been doing YouTube for 5 years and had grown to 500,000 subscribers. And in 3 weeks of him daily vlogging, he grew to 1 million subscribers. Well, how does that happen? Well, you got to recognize that, you know, he was a filmmaker for the last 15 years. And then at that 15-year mark, that's when he started seeing some of the results. And I think if your passion or if the thing that you want to accomplish is notoriety, fame, money, and you're not passionate about, you know, the actual process and creating this, you know, this brand and putting in the necessary hours, I don't think you're ever going to be successful. And yeah, Nate, you and I are closing in on that 100, you know, episode mark. I think in 4 weeks we'll be hitting it. We'll be recording that podcast. And you got to ask yourself, you know, if you pull up episode 1 compared to episode 100, I guarantee you it's way fucking better. The quality's better, the audio's better, the way you and I interact with each other, the content that we provide, you know, on this particular show. And you question, it's like, well, why haven't we made it? Well, because we haven't done it long enough, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure. And another person that's always putting it out there, and it's just helpful, is Gary Vee. You know, he always puts out, he's like, I did not make my first piece of content until I was 35 years old. You know, and it's just one of those things. It's just a reminder, right? Like, even where we are, I'm just like, get just discouraged. But man. But I'm like, oh, we see that. And it's always just a good reminder, because it's true, right? Like these people we know now today, you know, they've been doing it for so long. Or you look at even athletes, right? These guys in college, right? They're getting drafted, getting paid millions of dollars. Like, man, they've been playing football, baseball, basketball since they were 5 years old, right? They've been putting in 15, 20 years, you know, so by the time they're turning 23, 24, when they're getting drafted and doing these things, like, they've been putting in work for years. But, you know, no one sees it until, boom, they're on the big stage. So it's just one of those good reminders, right? No matter what you're doing, where you're grinding it out, it just takes time. You know, it takes time. A lot of time it just takes putting in the work and dedicated work, you know, productivity and focused work. And sometimes too, people will be going through the motions and doing things, and they're like, man, why am I not getting the results? I'm saying it, I'm doing it, going through the motions, but it's not the same thing. It's not, you know, that extra effort in doing it, right? Just like whether it's sales or talking to people, like, you can say the right thing, right? You can say the right clothes, you can say those things, but if you're not delivering it, if you're not, you know, having the proper eye contact, the things, doing it in a way that you're relating to someone, it's not going to work. Or same thing at the gym, you know, yeah, I lifted the weight. Well, how did you lift the weight? You know, were you focused lifting weight, or were you just lifting it? Were you throwing it around? Were you, you know, what were you doing? Were you just did, you know, 5 sets, or did you do, you know, 5 sets of 5 reps, 5 sets of 10 reps? You know, it's just putting in the reps. And it's one of those things that we, you know, just need that helpful reminder sometimes of, like, hey, everyone's struggling, going through it together. No matter what it is you're trying to do, you're not alone. And, you know, keep putting in that work, keep grinding it out. And to me, especially doing this, it's really doing that journey is one of those things, like, what makes it more exciting, right? Like, just grinding it out, doing it, going through the path, going on the path, even though, you know, it's sometimes you got to slow down and just enjoy the path you're on. But it's, to me, that's some of the best part of it, right? It's not necessarily the end goal. It's just going through it and learning and getting better every day, and seeing and knowing that you're getting better and building that momentum it's just fucking awesome.
It takes work, man. It's one of those things that you got to treat it like a business. And a lot of people probably don't like to hear that. People don't like to hear that, you know, treat it like a job, you know, or whatever it is. But That's what it is. And you got to be willing to take some risk. You got to be willing to maybe make some monetary investment into the product. One guy that I think of directly is who you look at has blown up overnight is Alex Ramosi. I mean, the guy puts out 50 plus pieces of content a day. He does podcasts, YouTube shows. He's a guest on all kinds of stuff. He's made, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you look at him and you go, how did he get there so fast? Well, one of the things that I noticed was he's been doing a podcast for fucking 6, 7, 8, 9 years. But then also this last, couple of years, he's dumped $3 million a year into his personal brand. That's how you get there faster. You got to take a big swing and a big risk. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to do that. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to put in the effort. I was having a conversation with someone, and they were trying to suggest to me to slow down. Try and make a perfect piece of content, but do it less. Essentially make one piece of content a week instead of 7 pieces of content. And I think one of the things that the reason why I'm not going to listen to that person is because I believe in what they call the 10,000 hour rule. If you really want to master something, you have to put in the hours. You got to put in the effort to really accomplish, that goal or that dream. Well, the fastest way to do that is to do it every single day. Am I going to burn myself out? Probably, but I'm going to get really fucking good at it really soon.
Yeah. And the way the algorithms and how much content is being produced out there, and we've talked about this, once a week, how many people are going to miss it? Even posting once a day. Sometimes I try and post twice a day, sometimes 3 times, on the same platform, because I know people aren't seeing my stuff, and it depends when someone's on there. Like you said, once again, it's going to push what people want to look at, what people are seeing, what people are, looking at. And if you're not posting at the right time, if you're not doing, X, Y, and Z, it's not going to get out there, and people aren't going to see it. And it's no different than just like that, right? Like, hey, did you knock on 100 doors? Did you knock on 10 doors? You knocked on 10 doors and you got 10 no's. Oh, man, that's not even a good sample size to know if anyone wants to buy your thing, right? You got to knock on 100 doors. You got to make 100 phone calls. You got to do so much work. And sometimes too, like some people, oh man, maybe you only knocked on 10 doors and you got to sell right away, right? Or one of the first couple of doors, you got something good took off and like, oh, I know how to do this. And then boom, you get slapped in the face. A bunch of no's, or a bunch of no ones viewing your videos because you let me just do the same one. And it's just difficult, and it is, but it's fun. And you're right though too, and like you gotta keep just working at it. And just a lot of people don't want to treat certain things as a job, and it is. To really be good at it, it is a job, and it takes a lot of effort. And yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. A lot of people just want to have this, once again, right? Make that one TikTok video, it takes off, and okay, cool, I know what I'm doing, instead of really perfecting their skills.
Well, and it's something like, so my ideology around like my daily vlog, I've produced 35 daily vlogs, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's as fast as it goes. If you put in the work daily, but if you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a job, but you got to treat it like a job. You got to show up every single day. And if you don't show up and you still expect the results, well, that's just not going to happen. And I think one of the coolest things that YouTube as a platform has is the ability to go look back like at the oldest videos. And if you go to some of your favorite creators, you'll be shocked on how many of those favorite creators have a couple hundred views on the start of their videos, a couple thousand views or 10,000 views, and they didn't really seek success until they put in the reps. And, after 1, 2, 3 years of putting in the work, all of a sudden, they are that overnight success. And I think it's one of those things that you got to be able to take big swings. You got to whip it out, big boy, and fucking go for it. Because if you don't, you're probably gonna be at your deathbed going, fuck, I wish I'd have done this, or fuck, I wish I'd have done that. And in reality, what do you have to lose? Like, there's only gain. You know what I mean? You could be the worst YouTuber in the world, but if you have 1,000 true fans that pay you $100 a fucking year, you're gonna make $100,000. And it's that simple. It really is that simple. And it's just a matter of putting in the years of work, because you need to get to that. You need to get to that expert level of this game, and that's what it is. It's a fucking game. If you play basketball or football or fucking pickleball or fucking cornhole, it's a fucking game. Once you learn the rules of the game and you put in the effort and you practice and you fucking execute it, and after years of time of just showing up, at some point in time, you're going to be successful. You just got to outlast the rest of the fucking people who start and stop, start and quit, start and quit. You just got to outlast those people, and you'll figure out the technology and the gear and how to make better videos and better audio and all that shit. You're going to figure it out because you're going to have to, because you're not going to see the results. And you're going to change things, and you're going to test different techniques. Today's the vlog I filmed today is in black and white. Why the fuck would I film a black and white video? I have no idea. But you and I haven't seen on YouTube a black and white video. So I'm going to fucking try it. And what if it doesn't work? Well, fuck, maybe I'll do 10 of them. Maybe I'll do 100 of them and just see if that's a trend that I can fucking jump on. And all of a sudden, the only creator in the world creating black and white videos is me and fucking Lucy Liu from 1965. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take some risk.
For sure. And it's
No, Nate, I need your opinion. Do you think the black and white thing's stupid?
No, not at all, man. I've done some black and white videos for my my workout videos just to mix it up or posting on the stories. It's because it's like let's just switch it up. Let's just have some fun with it, right? That's the whole point of being a creator, right? Being an artist. I'm reading the book right now, Linchpin, and it's talking about that people that are the linchpins, right, are artists, right? No matter whatever it is you're doing, versus just being a cog, just being another person. And I think that's the whole part of creating content. It's literally, right, content creator. You're creating something just like an artist does. But it's how can you create it better? What can you do to have fun with it? What can you do to catch people's attention, right? Like, just exactly, right? If everyone's going through all of a sudden there's a black and white video, I might get someone to stop scrolling and click on your video, right? It's just something different in the whole line of videos that they're scrolling through. So whatever you can do to stick out, right? That's why thumbnails are so important. That's why, the first couple seconds of video is so important, just to hook people in and keep them, interested and watching and clicking on it. So, dude, I like it. I think I need to make some more black and white videos too, just because, like I said, it is different. It's cool. But my big thing too right now, and I've been like, anyone that I talk to that also puts, I'm like, for whatever reason, my freaking workout videos of time lapse is like, those get 10 times as many views. So like, it's time lapse is big right now. I don't know, on shorts and YouTube shorts. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think, and I want to just test it doing other silly things, right? Like whatever it is, just sitting at your desk working. But how many views? I don't know. People like the time lapse. I guess it's just because it's a bunch of something just compressed, right? And whatever it is. So, but yeah, dude, I think we get definitely forget to get more creative with our stuff sometimes.
Well, it just, for me, when I was going through this vlog process, I realized that I was getting bored. You know what I mean? So then I started changing up the angles of the camera. I started little fucking around with the filters and all this other shit on the camera I don't really understand. And then this morning I just came to like black and white and like, oh, that's fucking cool. I've never used that setting before. Why the hell not? And it's something that I think if you can stand out from the norm, if you can stand out from what everyone else is doing, I think you're going to be successful at some point in time because you are different. And I think oftentimes different is it. I think it might work. And that's one of the things that you got to pay attention to is, there's been a couple creators recently. One that I can think of is Sam Solik. I mean, the guy produces the worst fucking YouTube video in the world, but somehow he has millions of views. And it's just him walking around and working out and talking about his groceries and how much supplements he takes and, taking selfies at the gym. For some reason, they like him and he's got a good personality. He tells a pretty good story and he documents it. And it's unique and it's way different. And it's, to be honest with you, Nate, it's a bit refreshing. Like a lot of this content stuff is just so fast and so fucking like in your face where my brain is just ready to explode because I'm trying to catch up to the video and the algorithms just got me. And it's just, I'm ready to swipe, and I realize that I think, at least in 2024, I think there's going to be a shift at some point in time with people going to long form content, because as popular as short form content is, I think people are being more aware that they're being manipulated. And I think they're going to get back to, want to watch something that they enjoy and get to know the creator and, make it more, more of a realistic experience.
For sure. And I think, I mean, you touched on the big thing that I forget all the time, right? Is, telling a story, right? Telling an interesting story and just being real with it, right? Like it doesn't need to be overproduced. And like I said, it's a perfect example of things just like, man, going through and even that, right? Like, what's he eat? That's anyone that it's into bodybuilding or weightlifting or what sees, someone of his size and what he's accomplished. Like, man, what's this guy eat? What's this guy take? What's he doing in his daily life? What can I get from him? And that's where the value really is. Cause right. Like what is he doing? What can I take from that to do to, be better in the gym, be better with my diet or whatever it is. And everyone, a lot of people get so caught up in, whatever they're trying to replicate. And sometimes it's what works is just that, telling your story and whatever interesting story you have. And people want to hear that, right? We overcomplicate it sometimes, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, is that we do, right? We're overthinking it. What are we going to do? What am I going to say? Just like, man, just get on there and talk and tell your story.
Well, and I think story is so important, but I think also like what story enables you to do is allow you to connect with your audience, how small or how big, it doesn't really matter. If you're able to connect with someone on the other side of the camera and actually communicate your message in a way that's compelling, and you do follow the story method, which is a 3-part story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a hero that has to overcome, some type of obstacle, and there's a change in the timeline, from the beginning to the end. If you can kind of conquer that very short little formula and convey that, people aren't coming to your channel because you've niched down. People aren't coming to your channel because you're the expert in this field. No, they're coming to your channel and they subscribe because they like you. They actually enjoy being around you. It's someone that for us, our podcast, people get to be in, we get to be in their ears for 45 minutes a week, and it's something that they get to be a part of that community, and it's like-minded people. And I think a lot of times we confuse attention with just telling a good story and being relatable to your audience, and remembering that on the other side of the lens is someone sitting there watching you. And if you can relate to them in a relatable way, Sam Sulek does a great job of that, of just showing you, he's going to the grocery store. How exciting is the grocery store, right? It doesn't need to be some heroic story. It doesn't need to be some compelling thing where, some crazy shit has to happen. It's just you literally telling your story and showing people what that story. I think a lot of times, one of the things that I have to remind myself is, during this content creation is not telling, but showing. You can tell a really cool story and not say anything. Today I'm going to the grocery store. Or just get in your car and drive to the grocery store and show the grocery store on film. You tell the same story. People can relate to all of it, unless they're, I guess blind, but they're probably listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? It's painting the picture. It's once again just going back to attention, right? Whatever you're doing, do you have the listeners, the viewers' attention to get it? And no matter what it is, and even if it comes to your job and what you're doing, and if you're selling something, right, you're trying to tell a story, right? Tell the story of your product, tell the story of whatever it is that you're trying to sell, right? We're trying to sell our value on this podcast, or it all comes back to that. Yeah. Building value, telling the story, and getting people to relate to it, to want to buy, right? Buy listenings, buy their time, spending their time with us, whether downloading on a podcast platform or watching on YouTube. How can we paint that picture? How can we relate to everyone? How can we tell our story? Get people excited. And I think, what we do, and it, I don't know, maybe people think it's silly or not, but what we're showing is like, man, we're just dedicated to doing this podcast, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter where you are in the world, no matter where I happen to be or what I'm doing. Some people might find it silly, but at the same time, it's like, man, we're gonna get it done. Whether I'm doing my walk on 75 hard, or whether I'm in the car, whether you're in Mexico or Thailand or Bali, like wherever you are, we're gonna be there to produce it. And it just, how can we show that, man, no matter what it is, we say, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it, no matter what. It doesn't need to be like, okay, we got to do it at this one location every time. No, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. And I think a lot of people forget that with things, right? They have these excuses of, man, well, I can't work out because I can't go to the gym. We can still work out at home, or I'm on the road, so I don't have my food. So, I can't say, yes, you can stick to your diet. You can go and get just grilled chicken at a restaurant, or there's things to do. And people always are way to find excuses not to do whatever it is they're trying to do. And it's just one of those things, is like, one story I always want to, try and paint with everything I do is just discipline and being able to not have excuses and do what you got to do.
Yeah, if you counted how many times this podcast was produced in a different state or country, we would lead the charts. I promise you. I have done this podcast everywhere, and the excuse of not being in your comfy studio or your bedroom, under, in the basement of your mom's house, I think is a huge excuse. And I think at least in this day and age where you can take care of, you can take advantage of the technology that's out there for you. I mean, this podcast is literally being put together in Playa del Carmen. Next week, it's going to be I'll be back in the United States for a couple of days. And I think it's a reminder for everyone that, no matter what your dream is, there are no excuses. And, one of the things that I've enjoyed producing the daily vlog is there are no more excuses for producing content. You have the time. You've got all the gear in your pocket. You don't need fancy equipment. All you need is an idea and execute it. And with technology these days, you can upload a video from anywhere. It's a pretty magical time. If you wanted to be a content creator or inspire the world or promote your business or teach something online, like this is the time to do it. And I think it's a great opportunity. And I think you and I have shown that just because we have done this podcast in some fucking really weird places. I can promise you that.
Okay? Oh, for sure. And to me, that's the fun of it, though, right? It's like, I don't know, where are we at this point in time, and that's just where the podcast is. You're right, though, too. And I mean, you can film, edit, upload all from your phone, right? Like it's crazy the amount of technology, and it's only getting better. So there is really no excuses. And the phones have great cameras now, high definition or 4K. Yeah, I think you even do 4K. So it's just like there really isn't anything, that accessories to make the lighting and stuff is better is easy. You can find it anywhere. You can add it. I mean, there is really no excuses to producing content, and great content of that. I mean, there's a lot of people, that's what they do. That movies are made on iMovie or all these other things or commercials or whatever it is, and it's just like it can be done. So yeah, man, I didn't think we'd be getting this topic, or I don't even know on our podcast today, but hey, it's a good I like it. Not only that, just doing it so early in the day. I for whatever reason, I like when we're doing it early in the day. Don't get me wrong, I like when we're doing it at night, but filming during the day is just a different vibe as well.
Well, for you, it's in the middle of the day. It's for me, it's evening time. It's this is cocktail time. It is good, and I think it's one of those things that, like right now I'm filming. It's crazy because I've been looking at like new cameras and stuff because I have been daily vlogging, and we've been filming our life for the past year, and I've been looking at different equipment. And holy shit, they're expensive. I mean, half of my vlogs are filmed on my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Okay, this thing is super old, right? I bought this in like 2020. My camera I bought in 2018, and it's from 2013. I mean, I've upgraded the lens and the microphone, but it like, I hate the excuse of the equipment. I used to be the guy who thought the equipment mattered so much. And I was watching this YouTuber that I've been following for the last couple of years, taking inspiration from. He's filmed every single YouTube video, which again, He's got 1.5 million subscribers. He does travel content, and he does it on a GoPro. It's not pretty footage. It's not great audio. It's not the crispiest, cleanest audio or the crispiest, cleanest, 4K video. It really isn't. And they're long, they're drawn out. There's no music to them, but somehow he stood out. And whatever equipment you have in your pocket or in your room or in your house, you can make it with that equipment. The equipment is not like it really. The difference between 1080p and 4K is like this much different. It really doesn't matter. And the only thing that I would suggest is audio. Audio is key. If you can't understand what the hell they're saying, people are going to click off. But if the picture, honestly, does not matter.
For sure. I don't know why. It was just giving me flashbacks of other, careers we're in where people would geek out on their equipment and equipment that you wouldn't ever use, right? Like, but they got all this, all the cool shit on their belt, and I got this and that, and all, and you wouldn't ever use it, but they got it. So
there was when I was working at the sheriff's office, there's one guy, because I'm a gear nut. I love gear. I love cool shit on my belt. Trust me, I did it all. Okay, and there was this one guy who would carry. I think he had at one point in time he had like 4 knives on him, and I go, dude, if I need 4 knives, it's time to move on to the gun. Okay, like I know this is rated R for our YouTube audience, and hopefully YouTube can bear with us, but it was to a point where I was like, dude, you don't need that many knives. If you run out of knives, it's probably because you've run out of bullets. Okay, like get over it. Okay, you can carry 2 knives. Okay, that's it. Like, stop carrying so many knives. Like, I got one under my shirt, I got one on the left side, and then I got one on the right, and then I got one in my boot. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Are you James Bond? What are we doing? Like, we're fucking going to, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. I know exactly who you're talking about.
No, I mean, it's just, of course, it's a generalization, because no matter what the industry is, there's always those people, right? Like, you got to be decked out, got to have this. It's like, yeah, sure, you might need it, but what about the skills, right? What about the other things that you do? And the whole roundabout thing, the point we're getting to is just, you don't need it. You need yourself. You need a good story. And if you got your phone, you got a camera, whatever it is, you can make it work. If the content is good, if what you're saying is good, if what you're showing is good, people are going to like it. People are going to watch it. It's going to go. So, but don't get me wrong. I know we talk about, right, that they're great YouTubers. They do have the great produced stuff, and there's a reason why. But they also have the budget to do that. So,
well, because you find some success, that's one avenue to make the content better. And that's one of the things that, on our Adventurous 3 channel, I've already told my wife, I go, as soon as we get to 1,000 subscribers and we are officially paid YouTube ambassador AdSense people, I'm buying a new camera. And she's like, fucking absolutely, no problem. Let's reinvest that money into the product that we're trying to put out there and try and give the audience a better view, a better look, and tell a better, it's not telling a better story, but just giving that image a little bit better. And I think, if you put those milestones in front of you, it's fun to geek out of the gear. Trust me, I had to buy a kick push skateboard before I can buy an electric one. Okay, my skateboard cost $17. Okay, as soon as I get really good at that, then I'm going to move up to the electric skateboard, and at some point in time, I'm going to get an electric bike. But these slow increments, and I think it's one of those things that when I first started the content journey, I rushed out and bought the $1,000 camera. I bought the $1,000 drone. I bought the $3,000 laptop with Final Cut Pro and all this shit I didn't know how to use. And guess what? The same equipment I'm using to this day, and somehow I'm able to produce a better image. And it's because I learned how to use the equipment. You know what I mean? Like, some of the new shit, just you're not going to use the features. And just because it's marketed to you that it's going to make your videos better, unless you know how to use that equipment and you know how to use those features, and those features matter to you, it really doesn't fucking matter. Like, don't get me wrong. Like like my end of the podcast, I've got a Blackmagic design, okay, full TV studio production. If I wanted 4 cameras right now, just imagine. Let me zoom out. If I could have a camera here, I could have a camera here, I could have one fucking back here, and I could switch them all if I really, really wanted to. But I don't. Is this show overproduced? 100%. Like I'm constantly tapping my camera because I forgot my stupid battery charger in my big camera, but that's just the way it goes. I've got a $900 lens on my camera right now. Who the fuck does that? It's stupid. It's dumb, but I think the image looks pretty crispy. You know what I mean? It's all blurred back here, right? It's really good. But is it necessary? Absolutely not. It's something that 3 weeks ago I was using my stupid laptop camera. Now the darkness is coming because I fiddle fucked with the lens. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I think is the most important. Is just taking action and getting started. Like. You don't need a college education. You don't need you don't need anything. All you need is a good idea. Tell the story and fucking just start. Because if you never start, you're never going to finish.
Oh, for sure. And don't get me wrong. I love cool shit. My point is just to get. Don't let the I don't have the cool shit stop you from doing it. Because it's there's lots of stuff. I love having cool shit. I love having nice things. Don't get me wrong, but there's too many or too much of, not action being taken because of excuses like that. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have the time. I'm not blah, blah, blah. Fucking just take some action and do whatever it is that you say you're going to do and do it. It doesn't need. On the other hand, we are going to have a overproduced podcast one day when we get to, I don't know what episode it is, but as we, once this thing takes off and once we're doing everything we're going to be doing, we're going to get to that point where it's overproduced. We'll be in a studio and all that fun stuff. What do you say, JC?
I'll never be in a studio. I'm always going to be on the road. That's my goal.
You'll have a mobile studio eventually. You'll have maybe if you have a rig again, you have this big diesel pusher. You're driving around. You have a spot for a studio, on the road.
The new RV is currently getting built. It's we've elected to give you an update on my life. We elected to. I haven't made this public yet, which don't tell the Adventures 3 audience. They don't know yet. We're keeping it a secret. But we bought an RV. We've bought an RV, which is being built, which should be done here in the next couple of weeks. But we're going to do both world travel and also RV travel. It's one of those things that, as difficult as RV travel is, we are going to stick with it because we want to see some of the world. And also, when we come back to the United States, we don't have a house. So we're actually going to be selling our main house because we want to buy another storage facility, which I'll probably get into another episode. But then, also travel the world because as cool as living in Playa del Carmen is in Mexico, we do also want to visit some other places in the world and do this podcast, continuously from different places, which is for us, it's super exciting. The audio is always going to suck because apparently every third world country I've ever been in, they build houses out of concrete and not with any soundproofing material at all. So I apologize for the shitty audio.
Yeah, I mean, eventually I'll be in a studio or I'll have some sort of office where I can, do some soundproofing, have my microphone set up again. It'll get a little bit better. But until then, we don't make excuses and we just make it happen.
You just got to take that action. So Nate, you want to wrap it at that?
Oh, for sure, man. It's a good episode as always, just talking about whatever comes to mind and we get these topics out and talk and produce and get better. And for those of you out there too, please share our show. We're just trying to grow it. Just two guys, talking on our Action Takers podcast.
Dude, I'll tease the next episode because I've got some really, for some reason, like in Playa del Carmen, I don't speak Spanish. Okay. Poquito. Very, very little, right? I know cerveza, poquito, and español. That's about it. Okay. Me llamo, te como, whatever. I don't know any Spanish. My 5-year-old knows more Spanish than I do. But somehow people keep finding me and telling me crazy stories. Okay. It's been a wild ride. I met a guy today, an entrepreneur, started out selling burgers from a hot dog cart. And somehow he's built this empire. Dude sat down with me for lunch. just incredible story. I'll have to share it next week on the podcast.
All right, man. That sounds good. We need to start telling some more stories. Right? Let's story time.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Till next time.
All right, man. Take some action.
It's about drive, it's about power. We stay hungry, we devour. Put in the work, put in the hours, and take what's ours.